Good morning, afternoon, and evening to all, and a pleasure to be here. Happy World Food Day, if I'm not mistaken, by the way. Um, I thought I'd start off by sharing quickly a short story just to tell you why scaling specifically is so important for WHO and its innovation hub. And just one example, actually, of a failure that really demonstrated the importance of that. And then I'll share with you kind of the pilot projects that we're thinking of moving forward as we're just now establishing formally WHO's innovation hub. A little bit late to the game, we admit, but we're very excited about the potential to not just work in this area, but more importantly, to work with the rest of you. So please do keep those questions coming, and we really look forward to talking with you more after this. So next slide, please. So I'll just take you back to early January 2016. This is in Northeast Jordan. I was sent there to better understand the needs of Syrian refugees who are coming by the thousands every week. And we were sent to better understand what is it that WHO could do to assist. And what we found out was that actually there was high cases of neonatal hypothermia. So they said, can you help us to go out and find an innovative solution? And we went and found this. Next, please. This is the Embrace Nest Neonatal Warmer. It may be familiar to some of you. And basically, it's a low-cost incubator. It's about $25. And it has some very promising outcomes for neonates who are at risk of hypothermia. So we went ahead and procured these and then faced a whole host of challenges because we had no process or policy around how we bring a new non-catalog device with no humanitarian evidence to scale within a humanitarian setting. And while we were undertaking this, we heard similar reports from Gaza, from Morocco, from Laos, from Syria, from Yemen. And as we were trying to roll out these devices, we got quickly caught up in the quagmire of our own bureaucracy. And again, this is a failure story, but we could all learn from these. So what happened in the end was that it took us 18 months to actually distribute these. Now, the bright silver lining to that is that when we did establish the Innovation Hub, we made sure that scaling is one of the central tenets of what we want to do. Next, please. So we recognize that there's a need for WHO to scale because we were getting all these reports, and we got similar reports for scaling solar for health facilities, for scaling solutions to find out how medications were being used, but there was no structure to collect these challenges, to collect these ideas, and to move forward with the ministries of health on the most promising ones. So I'll move to now an example using this of what we plan to do. Next slide, please. I'll try to keep this very short because I think the discussions will be more fruitful. So this is an example of how we might scale this innovative neonatal warmer. What we're really looking for specifically at WHO is late stage innovations. So I love what Bernard was saying regarding scaling starts before you start to scale, because that's something that we really have to work on, and that's something that we're trying to do now. But when we talk about what is it exactly that we're scaling, it's not the early stage, it's the very late stage innovations that have demonstrated evidence in one setting and that we can then simultaneously scale in different settings. So in the example of the neonatal warmer, for example, we would have Grand Challenges Canada and the Every Woman, Every Child initiative on the one hand as a partner, and then different partners who have undertaken research into the effectiveness of these, if it's a technological or a social innovation, the effectiveness of that, or even a policy innovation. And in this case, for example, this might be an innovation partner. And then we would have several country offices that would work with the ministries of health to meaningfully scale this up in a setting within that country. And we would work with our different departments inside WHO to make sure that we have the right focal points and the right people on board. Now, this is an example of the neonatal warmer. The challenge that we have, and this is where really I think we can learn a great deal from UNIN, is threefold. The first is when we undertake a planned scale, such as in this example, there's a huge regulatory barrier. Now, certainly if there's a technological innovation, it's going to be a little bit more, the hurdle is going to be a little bit higher. But even in a social innovation like group prenatal care, or as Gina was mentioning earlier, the mental health innovation in Mozambique, the Friendship Bench, um, those also have very different regulatory environments in different places that might preclude them from actually being scaled there. And by the way, the Friendship Bench is another one that that we're looking at. So the first one is the regulatory environment. The second, which we'll throw our hands up and say that we don't really have deep expertise in, but we have lots of partnerships that can help us in, is related to market dynamics and market shaping. And here we're trying to tackle this twofold. The first is to work with partners. These are the big foundations, other UN agencies that have experience in assessing markets and the viability of scaling. And the second is with academic institutions. So just because of my current proximity in Boston to MIT and HBS, we're trying to get them on board to understand if students can come and do cases, and also IMD in Switzerland. But there may be many other schools who already have developed models. So we're trying to reach out to our networks to understand, are there groups or universities, or are there different cohorts that can help us with this work in terms of actually scaling up. And the last one is regarding the last challenge is regarding localization and evaluation. And the localization example, as Gina mentioned, for example, if it worked in Mozambique, the Friendship Bench, will it work in Haiti? If our Laos country office and the Ministry of Health in Laos tells us we would also like to try the Friendship Bench, can we try to do it there? That's something that we are really looking to our country offices and the ministries of health to help us to answer those questions, but they also need their own capacitation and capacity building within their own offices. So that brings me to the end of the challenges. And before I end off, I just want to say that what we're really hoping for as the outcome of this of this event is that we'll be able to establish some connections. Cara, for example, is in the Grand Challenges meeting right now in Berlin, and we're hoping to deepen these connections with other agencies in order to help us to scale effectively.